Mother Nature is more powerful than any man-made bomb. More ferocious and destructive than any army. Every day, she claims more victims, showing no mercy and taking no prisoners.
Fire's coming this way, Chris, and it's moving.
I'm Chris Terrell. As a filmmaker and adventurer, I'm fascinated by extreme situations. I never use a film crew. I prefer to go it alone, just me and my camera. And now I want to confront nature head-on, take my camera into her very jaws.
Out in a hailstorm like you have never seen. The thing's coming down at 100 miles an hour. Now that hurts. Ah!
I want to meet the people who live in the path of killer natural forces.
Oh my God!
Who choose to play Russian roulette with nature at her most trigger-happy.
It can be beautiful one minute and then kill you the next. Just don't think it can't happen to you, because it can.
Tonight, I seek out possibly the most violent, destructive, and deadly of all storms. The hurricane.
You should never have to face a storm alone. Go to allstate.com right now for your own hurricane preparation guide. It will give you several last-minute tips to help you feel better prepared. Like 3/4 plywood for reinforcing your windows and doors.
I suppose if I'm honest, I'd have to admit that I am a bit of an adrenaline junkie. There are those that think I've got a death wish. Well, I haven't. I'm as terrified as anybody else of what storms can actually do. But I'm also fascinated, beguiled by these extraordinary forces of nature. That's why I want to get as close as I can to them, look them in the eye, feel their heartbeat, really try and understand them from the inside. Maybe that's why right now I'm traveling down a completely deserted interstate towards Louisiana, with all the traffic going in the opposite direction. Tomorrow at dawn, a gigantic hurricane named Gustav is expected to make landfall on the US Gulf Coast. Fearing a repeat of the infamous Hurricane Katrina that claimed 2,000 lives, the mayor of New Orleans is describing Gustav as the mother of all storms and has ordered a mass evacuation. Wow, 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 wow. Never seen anything like it. Never-ending stream of coaches full of evacuees. They're all coming in the direction that I'm going in. Slightly disconcerting, I have to say. Only time will tell now just what Gustav has in store for Louisiana, or indeed Texas. Or indeed me.
Jesus is coming. He says, come on in, find peace and shelter. Hide away until these calamities be overpassed.
This is the middle of an incredibly active hurricane season. Crossing the Atlantic from Africa, they've been stacking up, ready to smash into the US's southern coastline. All hurricanes are named, and Gustav is just the next in line to strike, probably around Lafayette in Louisiana, exactly where I'm headed for. I still have a few hours to prepare for his arrival at daybreak. Well, hurricanes are notoriously difficult to predict and even more difficult to film. Flying debris, water, wind, the lot gets hurled at you, and it's an absolute nightmare waterproofing cameras. But to be honest, I've taken some of these cameras into some pretty extreme places in my time, and I've found that, never mind all the expensive stuff, one of the best ways of waterproofing is a black bin liner, and the camera well wraps up for one of these. You can't do much better, to be honest. And as for me, my trusty ski helmet and goggles, this for the old bonce, and this for the eyes. 100-mile-an-hour winds plus can do a lot of damage. But no matter how well protected I am, or how well protected my cameras are, it's all going to count for nothing if I can't get into the storm in the first place. So that's number one mission. So we'll just hope for the best. It's now morning and the weather has seriously deteriorated. Gustav has made landfall just east of here and is heading this way, although he could change direction at any time.
Everybody in, the light, yep.
To have a chance of getting right into Gustav's path, I've hooked up with a bunch of homegrown hurricane chasers.
So where are we? I keep losing where we are.
I know. We're headed southeast. We're in this outer rain band here.
Michael and his fellow chasers have all the sophisticated gizmos to put me into the violent heart of a hurricane. But their plan is far from sophisticated. They're going to drive smack bang into the thing.
You know, after 25, 30 years of doing it, you start realizing, you know, what you can do, what you can't do. And, you know, it's just awesome to see, you know, nature's display in such a you know, vivid way.
Hopefully we won't lose any windows, because that's a real nuisance.
After about 20 minutes, we reach the outer bands of Hurricane Gustav. Driving is getting perilous, so Jim decides it's time to pull in and hunker down in the lee of a building.
Might be the best place we got right now.
They plan to watch the storm unfold from the relative safety of the car, but I've decided to venture out. I want a sense of what a hurricane is like, face to face.
I'm just walking down completely deserted High Street. It really is blowing up now. Here comes a really high wind now. There's a lie in the road. It's blown away. The strength of the wind is such I can't stand up. Just like Gustav's boxing. Right hook, left hook.
On the hurricane scale of 1 to 5, these 100-mile-per-hour winds are only a Category 2, but they're already causing a lot of damage.
Trees coming down all around me. Walls are coming down. The roofs are being torn off. Here it comes again!
Suddenly, in this ghost town, I catch sight of a solitary figure darting in and out of a house. Not everyone, it seems, has evacuated.
You're brave people.
Was it you I saw out there? It looked like you were having such a wonderful time. Did you get a thrill out of it?
She's the crazy one.
Yeah, I like doing stuff like this. Yes, a lot. Yes.
It's just like a ghost town out there.
Yep. Almost everybody left around here. We never leave them. We always stay.
So what's it been like here?
Rough. It's been rough. We've been watching the trees fall and the power line fall. A lot of wind, a lot of rain.
But you're all sticking together.
Sticking together. We're family, man. We've got to stick together. That's the way it is. Yep.
Okay, bye everybody. Good luck.
You're listening to continuing hurricane coverage, aftermath of Gustav, on 102.1 KQIS FM. It is 11 o'clock. Lots of information kind of coming in. We know that some big trees were overturned, some branches are down, and they are in the process of assessing damage right now. Re-entry is not.
Gustav has passed over us and moved inland where he'll slowly die. It's suddenly spookily calm. Everyone and everything is in a state of bewilderment. Damage is widespread. The emergency services, hemmed in by the storm, were too late to save the young man in this house. In all, 10 people in Louisiana were killed by Gustav. But this was nothing like the number of fatalities that had been feared.
Here's what's going on right now. Upper and lower St. Martin Parish, we got a mess. But relatively speaking, you don't have a big mess.
So,
Acadian Parish kind of
Gustav, in the end, for all his sound and fury, was not the mother of all storms, as had been billed. Louisiana, it would seem, has dodged a bullet, and the hundreds of thousands of people that evacuated are now coming flooding back. And the trouble is, many of them will now feel that the authorities who called for a mandatory evacuation had made a bad call, that they cried wolf. And this begs the question, next time a hurricane threatens this area, will these people evacuate or will they stay put? Well, in fact, we're about to find out, because a second hurricane is following in close behind Gustav. His name is Ike, and he's looking like an absolute monster. Having had my first taste of Hurricane Gustav in Louisiana, I'm now just days later in hot pursuit of Hurricane Ike, which is fast heading for America's Sunshine State, Florida. It's hard to believe, looking out at the clouds, that somewhere out there, a huge storm is brewing. All hurricanes begin life above the warm waters of the tropical Atlantic. Rapidly rising moist air feeds storm clouds which, helped by the Earth's rotation, generate a swirling mass of rain and wind. These circulate at up to 200 miles per hour around a central eye, which, contrary to popular belief, is almost completely calm. These donut-shaped storms are so huge they can only be seen in their monstrous entirety from space. This is Hurricane Ike. He's already killed 70 people in Haiti and has now got his sights set on Cuba. I'm heading for Key West, Florida's southernmost tip, just 100 miles north of Cuba, and there's every expectation that Ike could veer north and hit the Keys head-on.
Tonight and tomorrow. Again, the Keys are still under hurricane watch south of Ocean Reef. Keep listening as we bring you the latest updates.
This time, my aim is to be in place as the hurricane comes off the sea to hit land. Always the most destructive point of impact. Still a bright and beautiful day, breezy, nothing more than breezy, but certainly this is an indication that things are beginning to hot up slowly. Ike is just around the corner really, and will impact here probably later tonight. All the tourists have been told by the authorities to get out of town immediately. They've obeyed without question. They've come for the sunshine, not a full-blown hurricane. But I'm amazed to discover that most of the locals are planning to ride the storm, completely ignoring the mandatory evacuation. You guys live here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so you're not evacuating?
No, hell no.
We got a good stock of beer.
Yeah.
Beer, whiskey, rum, vodka, and a watermelon. What else do you need?
Well, this attitude may seem a little cavalier, but Key West has often been saved from a hurricane's killer force by the Caribbean islands that take the full brunt. Whatever the reason, Key Westians strike me as natural optimists. In fact, today there is a palpable sense of gay abandon.
We're going to have a little party tonight.
You're going to have a hurricane party?
Yes, hurricane party today. World famous drag show still going to perform tonight.
But you didn't think about moving out?
No, we've been through this before.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure we're going to have fun until the storm hits. When the storm hits, we're all hunkered down, but until then, we're having a party. Key West, what do you... It's a beautiful day, so let's have some fun down the 801. We care about you. We're going to have a great time. Be safe. The only American Caribbean island where gay's okay. Have some fun.
Well, this is one way to celebrate a hurricane coming in.
Showtime! Showtime! Showtime!
Straight defiance, gay defiance. Key West is putting a collective 2 fingers up at Ike. But at the bottom of Main Street, there are ominous signs. Minute by minute, you can see that the storm surge in the sea is increasing, and the sea is now impinging on the breakwaters and actually coming over into the road into Key West.
The people here, however, remain defiant. Hurricane parties are the order of the day. Bravado? Well, Dutch courage, certainly.
Can I ask you what you're doing, madam, for the hurricane?
What am I doing for the hurricane? Here I am. I'm drinking wine for the hurricane. Are you kidding? You want to come with us?
Where are you going?
Up there.
I think they're slightly tanked up. I would suspect they're slightly tanked up, but maybe that's the way you've got to be for hurricane.
Not so much tanked up as made up is Shirley, who actually prefers hurricanes to the tornadoes she grew up with.
What time? I grew up in the Midwest. You know, tornadoes come, 15 minutes, you have very little warning. And at least here, you know what's going on, and you're either brave or not. So, and I'm brave. Look at me, hello.
So, is Ike heading this way? There's no way of knowing. But the weather is rapidly deteriorating, and as all hotels have been closed until the threat of Ike passes, I've settled down for a fitful night's sleep in the car and wait to see what morning brings. At daybreak, we discover that Ike, rather than smashing us head-on, has continued west. What we're feeling is just his outer fringe, but it's still a mighty tropical storm. Now, normal people would still take shelter. But Key Westians, as I've already found out, are far from normal.
Only Key West, baby, Are you all crazy in Key West? Huh? Are you all crazy in Key West? Mostly, yeah. Standing right in the middle of a tropical storm. Winds of about 60, 70 miles an hour. It's hurling the sea at the coast. So this is Ike at his weakest. I hate to think what he'd be like at his strongest, where he can really flex his muscles. And he's now powering up. He's going across the Gulf of Mexico, ready to strike anywhere along that coast in about 3 or 4 days' time. And I hate to imagine what sort of damage he could do there.
But I'm determined to get to the point where Ike will make his next landfall. The question is, where exactly will that be? What we do know is that Ike is heading west across the massive Gulf of Mexico. But hurricanes are difficult to second guess. So, to try and get into his mind, I'm heading to the US Air Force Base at Biloxi, Mississippi. These people have ways of getting into hurricanes, literally.
Just a few minutes, I'm going to be taking off this plane behind me. One of the famous hurricane hunters of the United States Air Force. And we're going to fly not just over Hurricane Ike, but actually into Hurricane Ike, right into the very eye of the storm.
Today's mission is to try and predict Ike's next move, to find out exactly where and how hard he'll strike.
Yes, sir. Just to confirm, our altitude clearance now is flight level 100.
In no time at all, we're over the Gulf of Mexico and in the monstrous presence of Ike himself.
Below us now is Hurricane Ike. That is Hurricane Ike. Enormous as he is. This is a massive iron wall. Eventually we'll get over it and hopefully look down into the eye itself.
Even at 10,000 feet, we can't see Ike in his entirety. He actually fills the whole of the Gulf of Mexico, 2,000 miles in circumference and 600 miles in diameter. To build a more intimate picture of Ike, sondes or probes are dropped deep into his body. These measure wind speed and direction, temperature, pressure and humidity. It's like measuring the heartbeat and pulse of the monster to see just how strong he is.
Sound away.
Be ready for rapid fire, okay?
Consistent wind speed going up now. It's 78 knots.
Okay.
85. And it just keeps climbing.
Okay. Might start getting a little bumpy here coming in here.
As long as the pilot flies with the winds, we'll be okay. Travelling at 350 miles an hour, he can outrun the fastest hurricane winds. But if he were to fly across them, even this solid old prop plane would be ripped apart in seconds.
I'm going to sneak over, like 1 degree turn to the left. It wouldn't matter too much. The winds are saying we need to go about 15 degrees to the left, but...
As we peer down into the calm eye of this monstrous storm, information from the probes make one thing very clear. Ike is wounded. The mountains of Cuba have ripped a hole in him, sapping his energy. But, like all injured beasts, it doesn't mean to say he's no longer dangerous.
It doesn't appear to be as organized as we expected it to be, but it's still a force to be reckoned with. And it's got plenty of time between here and its predicted landfall somewhere in Texas. It's got plenty of time over nice warm water to develop if it decides to.
Feeding voraciously off the warm, energy-giving waters of the Mexican Gulf, Ike must inevitably strengthen before he reaches land. Determined to outrun him, I drive through the night towards Texas, the state now bracing itself for Ike's impact.
Lord, I pray tonight for all of those in the Louisiana, Texas, Gulf Coast area who are facing the wrath of Hurricane Ike. Pray, Lord, that you would grant wisdom in what to do, whether to leave or to stay. I would pray tonight for all of these folks who are traveling on the roads as well.
Hurricane Ike is well on its way now, and everybody is in total panic. Galveston on the coast, they're saying could be underwater by this time tomorrow, underwater. And they are also saying that death is an inevitability. So this is a very, very serious hurricane. This isn't time for playing games like they did in Key West. This really is, we are being told, a life and death situation.
Nevertheless, I need to get myself into the best possible position to film Ike head-on. To minimise the risk, I've hooked up with a couple of British storm chasers.
There's a lot more instability now in the cloud structure.
Well, you know, don't...
Stuart is an amateur wild weather enthusiast, but a very experienced chaser.
Bearing in mind, what we're going to do is drive to a place called Freeport. We're then probably going to push up to Galveston, and we're going to set up there. So we're in the path, we're in the track of it. So I can tell you now, if we're sitting in the car and we get 110 mile an hour gust, it will be white knuckle, absolute white knuckle.
It appears Ike is heading straight for the town of Galveston. Built on a coastal spit, it will be incredibly vulnerable. But that's exactly where we intend to dig in. But on our way there, we pass through the small town of Freeport and are shocked at what we find.
That's his big blue ugly thing. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is amazing.
It's still hours before Ike actually arrives here, but already the storm surge, the wall of water being pushed ahead of the hurricane on the way in is already flooding this whole place.
I'm actually shocked by how far inland the water's already come, and we need to be careful here that we don't get stuck where we are. It's annoying because we needed to take that road to get to Galveston Island. We can't. Galveston's over there. We can't get there. We're going to have to drive back inland and round.
I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. The storm surge is coming in fast and furiously. Nothing is going to hold those waters back. Absolutely nothing.
A hurricane storm surge can increase normal tides by 15 feet or more. For the Gulf Coast communities that are on average only 10 feet above sea level, this spells real danger. 9 out of 10 fatalities in a hurricane are caused by drowning.
We've got people down here that are stuck in the middle of the roadway trying to drive out. They can't make their vehicles are stalled out because they waited till this morning to leave. We got another family, an elderly couple back here that they don't want to leave. They want to stay there with their house. They are not using their intelligence. They're emotional about their property and their houses.
Sure. So what can you do about that? Can you make them leave?
No, there's no way to make a person leave their house. This is not nothing compared to what's coming. I mean, we've got high winds coming. We've got higher water coming. The tide is already coming over Beach Drive. So this is nothing until you expect what's coming in the future.
The wording from the National Weather Service is stark. Basically, they say if you're down on the coast, you will die. You will face certain death. Now, I'm used to stern words from the National Weather Service. It doesn't put me off as a storm chaser, but that's really focused my mind today.
They say the road down here is getting impassable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we may have to get everybody down.
If we don't move fast, we're going to be stuck here.
Yeah. Well, this has come up since I've been here.
Oh, it was coming up by the inch when I was standing in it. God knows what those police are going to do about the people they've got still in those houses. I just, they cannot understand what is about to hit them.
I think they've grossly underestimated the damage that this water is going to cause. I think, it's a massive storm.
Oh, God, we're blocked off.
Hang on.
We can't get through. Hold on, can we go around here?
No, gate's shut. That's all right, we'll have to go back and factor a new route. I'll just work us around it. Yeah, take that one and we'll probably go up and come back round.
Hang on, guys.
Luckily, we find the one remaining road to Galveston that's not underwater.
The model forecast tracks is going to take the eye of the hurricane dead centre over this bit here. It's not very high above seawater, as we can see, and it's whether or not there's anything that will provide us protection. But I'll tell you now, if I can find a multi-storey car park that can get the car up 1 or 2 layers, then I'll game on. Very tough and very interesting intercept this will be.
Galveston is no stranger to big storms. In 1900, it was hit by a massive hurricane that to this day remains America's deadliest ever natural disaster. Over 8,000 people were killed when 15-foot storm tides swamped the whole island. But history is quickly forgotten.
Are you guys staying here?
Yeah, we're staying here.
You know there's a hurricane coming?
Right.
You don't mind?
We know about it. We're storm chasers.
I'm going to be all right. I'm used to it.
Okay. Where are you going to hide out?
I'm staying at a place over here on Avenue R.
Okay.
It's a well-built house, old one.
Okay, look after yourself.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Maybe modern Galvestonians have confidence in the 17-foot seawall, which to date has held surging seas at bay.
Oh my word! Look at that, it's boiling!
Just coming.
Oh!
Yeah.
Dear me!
You can see behind me, this is Galveston, and this is likely to be right in the path of Hurricane Ike when he arrives. And already the surge, I need hardly say anything else. This is the sea surge.
On a normal day, people would be sunbathing on a beach just below this sea wall.
The circle that you can see in the middle is actually the eye of Hurricane Ike.
The black circle, yeah.
That's black circle because it's spinning around, spinning around. The red line is the projected path, and as you can see, we're sitting right on the projected path on the coastline. We're going to get absolutely walloped here, actually. Absolutely whacked. There is nowhere on this planet I'd rather be right now. I'm really very, very excited of what this evening will bring.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible.
10 days ago, when I intercepted Hurricane Gustav, billed as the storm of the century, virtually everyone had evacuated, even though the storm failed to live up to predictions. Now his brother Ike's arriving, and despite a mandatory evacuation, a third of the residents, that's 20,000 people, think the Galveston authorities are crying wolf and are sitting tight. It's now down to people like Police Sergeant Michael Gray to persuade residents to take Ike seriously and get to the public shelter, called the Shelter of Last Resort, before it's too late.
If it hits where they say it's going to hit, it's going to be very nasty. Well, looks like some waves have made it over the seawall and dumped a little water down here. Where are you headed to?
Corner.
Where are you gonna go?
Here. We're staying.
You need to go to the shelter, okay?
Oh no, we're okay.
Are you sure? I can
Yes,
give you
sir,
a ride
we're
there.
okay. No, thank you, we're okay.
If you need something, call us, okay? Because
Yes,
it's about
sir.
to get bad.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
From now on, it's gonna deteriorate.
Take us back home?
Well, look, y'all need to get inside, okay? And I would recommend getting in your car and driving to the shelter.
Michael hasn't got long to try and get people to the shelter. After dark, he and all emergency services will be withdrawn from the streets for their own safety. But conditions are deteriorating so fast that residents are soon reconsidering their options.
Yes, sir.
Is there somewhere we could go? Like a shelter?
Yeah, we have a shelter of last resort.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, we do have a shelter of last resort. Do you need a ride there?
Yeah, because it's flooding everywhere, man. It's
Okay.
bad.
Come here and hop in the back over here.
So you live here?
Yeah. I've been here for like 17 years now.
17 years, but you never seen anything like this?
Not like this. I didn't think that until I started feeling the winds, then I seen the water. Then the water started coming in. So that tells me right there, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
So I told myself, I said, you know what, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to make it.
Yeah, we'll make it. Think positive.
What time does everybody have to be off the streets? 8?
8 o'clock.
The sea surge, increasing by the minute, is threatening all coastal buildings and structures. The Balinese Room, built on sturdy wooden struts, is one of Galveston's most famous landmarks, a venue to such greats as Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra. For 75 years, it's weathered every storm thrown at it, though now some of the supporting crossbeams are already working loose. As the light begins to fade, Michael drops off the frightened but grateful hurricane refugee at the shelter of last resort.
Rest it up. Rest it up.
Right.
Take care.
Meanwhile, the sense of threat increases. Precious few roads are now passable.
Ike's a big boy. Oh, now we're starting to get more rain.
An hour later, it's Michael's last chance to help anyone seeking shelter. He's already been called in to take his own refuge.
If you called for a ride, come out to the road and meet us in the intersection of 19th and Broadway. We'll give you a ride. If you called for a ride, come out. This is the time right now when those who didn't heed the mandatory evacuation that was called, this is the time that if they are able to get through to us, we're gonna have to tell them that, you know, we can't go out. We're running from the water right now. Oh, that's good.
Michael and the rest of the emergency services hunker down for the night in the strongest hotel on the island. I, on the other hand, am joining Stuart on the second floor of a multi-storey car park that's already taking on a lot of water.
We're right on the very edge of the eye wall.
Where are we?
We're actually here, this white dot's here.
What the hell's going on out there? What's the situation?
Well, the situation is that the eye is now approaching us. It's less than an hour offshore. And of course, the strongest winds in a hurricane are always found around the periphery of the eye wall. You'll hear a lot of debris flying through the air. Shards of wood, bits of glass, broken bricks, and they're literally lethal. They'll cut you in half if they hit you. The next hour to an hour and a half are going to become very, very hairy. There is no way you can go out on those. It'll be lethal out on those streets. Absolutely lethal.
Despite Stuart's chilling warning, I decide to go out anyway. I haven't chased Ike all over America, to hide from him in a car park. The question is, will my camera stand up to the challenge? And will I?
Ike is now upon us. You can see the wind coming in. One way, first one way and then the other. Knocking me off my feet. It's all I can do to shout against this incredible wind.
The winds are now well over 100 miles per hour, and the roar is deafening.
This rain and spray is just relentless. Steam still seething, whipped up behind me.
At his strongest, Ike is like nothing I've ever experienced. It's terrifying and thrilling all at the same time.
Despite all the expectation, I could never even imagine like this. It's quite breathtaking, quite extraordinary, awe-inspiring, frightening.
Fighting not to be hurled into a murderous sea, I take immediate advantage of a dip in the roaring wind and make for the sanctuary of the car park, guided in by Stuart, worried for my safety. Not long afterwards, Stuart notices a change in the wind conditions.
It looks like the eye is approaching us. We've not had any really significant gusts now for a couple of minutes. It's noticeable. It's still very windy and you would call it gale force, but it hasn't got that raw energy, and it's almost becoming more quiet. I'd say give it another 10 minutes and we'll be outside walking around. You wouldn't even need an umbrella.
Stuart was right. Just minutes after being blasted by the first eye wall of Hurricane Ike, I am, for a while, safe in the surreal calm of the storm's eye.
Well, that was some experience, and we are now in the eye of the storm. The winds died down, the rain stopped, that roar has ceased, so we just got a little bit of respite and gather ourselves and prepare ourselves for the whole thing all over again.
Sure enough, the second eye wall soon explodes upon us, even more powerfully than the first. Once again, I cannot resist the lure of being part of this extraordinary force of nature.
Right now, the eye wall is upon us. Winds 100 miles per hour plus.
Ike is smashing up the place. He's smashing me up.
Buildings are coming down around.
Surely there's going to be massive destruction, and loss of life here in Galveston must now be a certainty. The incredible experience of meeting Ike face to face couldn't have prepared me for what I find this morning.
Everywhere you go, it's just destruction. The devastation is everywhere. Flooding, wind damage, and of course power lines are down as well, which has led to short circuits, all sorts of electrical problems, and fires like this one behind me now.
Man! The house survives a hurricane okay and a fire.
The firefighters can only stand and watch. With water mains ruptured, there is nothing to fight fires with. And down on the coast, I find, well, nothing.
Last night, I was filming some of the restaurants built out on the piers, wooden piers going out to sea. Well, they didn't make it. They now look like this.
These splintered timbers are all that's left of the famous Balinese rooms, where Sinatra used to sing.
I'm the manager of the Balinese room. I'm really hurt right now. See all those debris, and I see those holes right there. That's used to be a part of the ballroom. It's really hurt. It's painful.
This is incredible. You know, these buildings over there, they were here for 75 years. Gone. Look at here.
Makes you feel real sad.
Did you expect this to happen?
No. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I'm 54 years old. I've never been anything through this. But we made it.
The other big problem now will be looters as well. The shops are smashed apart, smashed open, and also now the National Guard are out to come in by helicopter. Nobody's leaving anything to chance anymore in Galveston. Not the day after Hurricane Ike.
Ike's huge storm surge and screaming winds have left virtually nothing untouched or intact. Cars are in the sea and boats are on land. Even by Stewart standards, this level of chaos and destruction is shocking.
I enjoy seeing the weather, and I enjoy the aspects of the hurricane, but it's the aftermath. When you're faced with this, and you realise that, you know, that's someone's boat, and they've probably worked all their life to be able to afford it, and it's their dream, and here it is lying smashed on an interstate. And it's everywhere you turn. You know, it's awful. I get no pleasure from seeing this.
Galveston is shell-shocked. Nobody can quite believe what's happened.
We went to sleep, we woke up and stepped out into water up over our bed. Wow. I was praying all night long, and I woke up thanking the good Lord I was still alive.
Who's this little guy?
Oh, boy. I found him stranded underneath there.
Underneath the porch.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's one that got lucky.
Yeah.
A lot of them died.
Yeah.
Hey, tell him what you named him.
Ike.
Galveston will bounce back. Galveston was destroyed in 1900, pretty much, and it bounced back. It'll bounce back. Galvestonians, they're very resilient.
Ike's impact was felt right across Texas, where he was to prove the third costliest hurricane ever, causing $13 billion worth of damage. 2 million people were to be without power for weeks. Ike led to the biggest rescue effort in Texan history. But miraculously, only 12 people were killed in Galveston, out of a total of 103 deaths across the southern states of America and the Caribbean. 34 are still missing, 19 of them from Galveston. Next time, I seek out the elusive but deadly firestorm and find a living hell on Earth.